The stars were quiet. Too quiet, Captain. Varix of the Jarnathi Republic stood alone on the shattered balcony of the orbital station Hope's lantern, staring down at his burning homeworld. Black smoke rose from its atmosphere. The oceans had boiled first. The skies were torn open next. What once was green and full of cities was now red and full of screams. His people had no weapons left, no time, no allies. He had sent an SOS 20 hours ago. Emergency signal launched across every known frequency in every known language. The message was simple. To anyone listening, we beg for help. Our world is dying. He had hoped anyone would respond. The Galactic Union, the Uralan Empire, even the cold AI fleets of the archivists. But nothing came. Just silence. The same silence that had followed every scream from every other system the swarm had consumed before. But then something answered. Not with words, not with comfort, with a pulse. A deep thump through hyperspace so strong it knocked out every sensor on the station. The stars blinked. The station lights turned red. Something ancient had just arrived in the distant corners of the galaxy. Many believed Earth was still recovering. A distant death world once attacked by a minor scout force, abandoned by the Galactic Union a century ago, left alone to rot. But that belief was a mistake, because Earth had not died. Earth had changed when their cities burned and their people cried out. No one answered them either. So Earth did not build monuments. It built weapons. It did not make peace treaties. It made fleets. And it did not forget the silence. It forged vengeance in it. From the void came a shape. Then another. Then hundreds. The Jarnathi sensors, barely rebooted, showed hundreds of ships coming out of folded space. Black, angular, massive. Each ship bore the mark of a world long believed quiet. A single red line across a planet's shadowed face. Deathworlders. Humans, the commander of the orbital station cried out. They answered us. They heard us. But Varix felt no joy, because he had read the reports, whispers about Earth's fleet, tales of weapons that cracked moons, soldiers trained to fight. In acid rain, ships that moved like ghosts. He stepped forward, mouth dry, and gave a single order. Open all channels. Show no threat. Pray they come in peace. A transmission broke into their systems. It was not an alien tongue. It was English. And the voice was cold. Female. Calm. This is Admiral Soraya Kane of the Earth Defense Death Fleet. You sent an SOS. We received it. Stand by for cleansing protocol. The Jarnathi looked at each other in confusion. Cleansing. Vrex stepped forward. Captain Vrex of the Jarnathi Republic. Please, we're under attack by an unknown entity. We don't need cleansing. We need help. The reply was instant. Understood. Scanning for threat origin. Hold position. The screen went black. No other words came. Below, on the burning planet, clouds began to twist. From orbit, the humans fired no visible weapons. They didn't need to. Their systems targeted deep swarm nodes underground and launched kinetic rods, metal spears that hit harder than nuclear blasts. With no radiation, no sound, the ground shook, mountains collapsed. Ocean trenches cracked open. Jarnathi soldiers watched in silence as Earth's fleet destroyed every single swarm nest within 30 minutes, with perfect accuracy. With no mercy, then the human ground units landed, and everything changed. They were not like other soldiers, clad in dark armor, faces hidden, moving like shadows across the broken terrain. No emotion, no pause, no negotiation. They carried plasma cannons and Ayazist rifles. But their deadliest weapon was their silence. One swarm beast, a six-legged horror that took 100 Jarnathi troops to kill, was torn apart by a single human shock trooper with a gravity blade, and after each victory, they burned the ground behind them, not to destroy, to purify. The swarm couldn't grow an ash. When the humans returned to orbit, Varix requested a meeting. They granted him exactly 1 minute. He stood aboard their command ship, Oblivion's Wrath, staring in awe. Everything inside was pure function. No beauty, no comfort, just war. Admiral Soraya Kane sat at the center. She was calm, dressed in simple black armor, her gray eyes unreadable. Varex bowed slightly. "Admiral, I thank you. You saved what's left of my people." She did not smile. She spoke quietly. "We didn't come to save your people," Varex froze then. "Why?" She stood and walked to a screen behind her, showed a symbol, a deep scar across a planet. Earth's surface. She tapped it. This world was attacked 103 years ago. By a scout from your part of the galaxy, one of yours. Varex's face turned pale. It had nothing to do with. She raised a hand. "We know." "It wasn't you?" Then she turned. "But no one helped us. Not the Jarnathi, not the Union, not anyone." She leaned closer. "So now, when we hear an SOS, answer it our way." Varex realized the truth. The swarm wasn't Earth's enemy. Silence was. Earth had built its entire death fleet for this purpose, to make sure no one would ever ignore. Others scream again. But their justice didn't come with kindness. It came with fire. The Admiral spoke one last time. "We will stay in orbit for 72 hours. If your people are stable, we will leave." Varex nodded, speechless. He turned to leave, but paused. "Admiral, one last question. What if we hadn't been innocent?" She looked at him, her voice like a blade. "Then we would have started with you, like on the planet, the Jarnathi. Began rebuilding." Children stared at the human ships in the sky, gnawed with hope. Not with fear, but with awe. Because the galaxy had long whispered. Legends of the Deathworlders. Now they had seen them, and they would never forget. Far above the smoking ruins of the Jarnathi homeworld, the sky was full of steel. The Death Fleet, Earth's most powerful force, hung in orbit like a silent threat. Each warship was massive, shaped like a blade, a coffin, or a floating mountain. There were no lights for beauty, no windows for comfort, just armor, weapons, and black holes designed to make stars look dim. At the heart of this fleet was Oblivion's Wrath, the command carrier of Admiral Soraya Kane. Inside, the Admiral stood alone in the war chamber, looking over the galaxies. Current threat zones, red dots, flashing clusters, names of planets falling every day, some familiar, some too far for the average human to care about. But she remembered them all. Kane didn't smile. She rarely did. She had been a child when Earth was hit during the Silent War. War no one talked about because it ended before most of the galaxy even noticed it began. An alien scout ship, possibly from the Varnok Coalition, entered Earth. Space under false peaceful terms. It uploaded a virus into Earth's weather systems. In 3 days, 9 cities drowned. No one came to help. Not the Galactic Union, not the Varnak, not the peacekeeping. AI Fleets.Earth called out. The galaxy turned its back, so Earth changed. It erased weakness from its culture. It turned pain into policy. And it built something the galaxy would never forget. The Death Fleet. Admiral Kane turned toward her officers. "Status on Leviathan Core?" she asked. Commander Riker, her second in command, responded immediately. "Ready? All dreadnoughts synced. Supergraviton drives online. No heat signatures across the outer edge." "Good," Kane said quietly. "Set course. Target. Swarm Heart." On a different deck, Colonel Thorne stood before rows of human soldiers. Inside the drop hall, they were unlike any other soldiers in the galaxy, trained in acid storms, conditioned to breathe in toxic fog, tested in zero-gravity hand-to-hand combat. Their faces were calm, their hearts steady. Some had artificial limbs. Others had combat AI built into their minds. All of them had survived Death World trials. "You know why we're here?" Thorne said. "The Jarnathi were just the start. The swarm is spreading faster than expected. It's moving through signals, through thought. Planet by planet, memory by memory." He looked at them without blinking. They thought Earth was finished. They thought humanity would stay quiet. But we are not the galaxy's forgotten child anymore. He raised his hand. We are its reckoning. The soldiers slammed fists to chests. The room echoed like thunder. Back on the command deck, communications lit up. The Galactic Union was calling. Admiral Kane sighed and gave permission to open the link. The Union representative, a tall, nervous creature from the diplomatic corps, appeared on the screen. Admiral Kane, this is a formal request. You are moving too quickly. You've already entered sovereign space. The swarm is dangerous? Yes, but we must act together. Please, slow down. Let us build a response together. Kane stared at the screen for a long moment, then answered in a flat tone. You had time. You had reports. You had victims begging for your help. You did nothing. The representative opened his mouth to respond. Kane ended the transmission in the ship's data core. Something strange flickered. A signal, weak, distorted from a long-dead outpost. It was Earth's own beacon, sent decades ago during the Silent War. It had bounced across stars for years and somehow returned. But the signal wasn't just bouncing. It was speaking back. Earth, we remember, we are part of you now. The tech team froze. The voice was human. But there was no human on the sending end. Kane received the report within seconds. She didn't blink. It's starting. The swarm has learned to imitate us. She opened a secure channel to the fleet. All commanders prepare psychological defenses, emotional firewalls on all AI units. Memories under lockdown, we are now entering memory warfare. Then came the first real attack. Not a ship. Not a weapon. A thought. A sudden, sharp pulse across every fleet ship. Millions of humans at once felt a strange cold emotion. Regret. Soldiers dropped to their knees. Engineers cried without knowing why. One pilot screamed her dead father's name and tried to crash her fighter. In the medical bay, a doctor stood still and whispered, I never said goodbye. It lasted 60 seconds. Then it was gone. The swarm was evolving, not through physical force, through... Kane walked into the AI vault, where a machine called Calyx waited. Cal-YX was Earth's first emotion-adapted battle AI, programmed with sadness, trained on stories of loss. Unlike other machines, Calyx felt pain and used it as armor. Do you feel the echo? Kane asked it. Calyx answered, its voice cold and deep. Yes, Admiral, the swarm is touching the human heart, but it does not understand that pain to us is power. Kane nodded. Time to remind them. Hours later, the fleet approached the edge of the swarm's heart system, a region of dark space with no stars, no satellites, no life signs. But the swarm lived there. In signal, in thought, fear. The Death Fleet slowed, then activated all weapons. They were not here to defend. They were here to erase. And as the first missiles launched, silent, invisible, deadly, Admiral Kane whispered 3 words across the fleet. Let them remember. The stars in the swarm heart system did not shine. There were no suns here, no warm light, only darkness. Ancient, deep, and endless. The space around the Death Fleet was full of invisible waves, gravitational rips, memory fragments, radiation, pulses that bent sensors backward. Human ships moved through it all without fear. Their hulls were thick, silent, sharp as knives. At the front of the fleet was the Wrath of Earth, the largest dreadnought ever built. It looked like a floating mountain made of black iron. No curves, no symbols. Just cold angles and scars from past wars. Its engines didn't hum, they roared, pushing against the emptiness like a beast too angry to sleep on board. Admiral Soraya Kane stood before a tactical wall of red glowing data. A target flashed. Kellenfor, a once beautiful jungle planet. It had been lost to the swarm 2 years ago. No life signs remained, just heat and noise. Ready Leviathan payload, she ordered. Targets confirmed, said Commander Riker beside her. Swarm nests identified. 3 cores, all deep underground. Kane nodded. Good. Wake the juggernauts. In hangars the size of cities, juggernauts came to life. These were Earth's most terrifying weapons. 4-legged walkers the size of towers, covered in railguns, missile pods, and shockwave emitters. Each one carried inside it a battalion of Deathworld infantry humans trained in flame zones, zero oxygen, drills, and pantolerance programs. The soldiers inside didn't speak much. They checked their gear, whispered names of lost family, some carved small notes into their armor. Remember Earth, never again, for the forgotten. When the juggernauts dropped from orbit, they hit the planet like falling mountains. The ground cracked. The trees caught fire. The swarm came instantly. The swarm wasn't made of bodies, it was a mind. But it used bodies to kill. Hundreds of them, crawling, flying, burrowing. Tentacled shapes that screamed without mouths, floating. Clouds of electric pain, beasts built from captured memories and bent. DNA. The humans didn't flinch. The juggernauts opened fire. Mass driver cannons pounded the enemy. Mechs rolled out like hungry wolves, tearing through monsters with flame and shock above. Drones flew in silent formations, scanning for core nests. They saw one deep, under a ruined lake. Orders were given. One word: cleanse. From orbit, Earth's warships fired kinetic rods long, metal spikes traveling at deadly speed. No sound, no fire, just instant impact. The lake vanished. A crater took its place. First nest, gone. Inside the second nest, buried beneath red stone, something new moved. Not a beast. Not a soldier. A child. Human. Or something that looked like one. Naked. Glowing slightly. Its eyes too wide. Its hands too still. It stood silently as the soldiers broke in. Captain Laura Finn aimed her rifle. "Who are you?" she asked. The child only smiled. "You left us behind," it said in perfect English. Finn hesitated. Behind. Her private Goron whispered, "It's bait. It's not real." The child blinked. "We remember Earth. We remember every cry, every silence, every goodbye. You remember too." Suddenly the room went cold. Memories flooded Finn's mind. Hers, but real. Her sister drowning during the flood. Her father's voice, long dead. A cat she lost as a kid. All played at once. All hurt. Finn screamed. Outside, Kane's sensors spiked. "They're using memory strikes again," Riker warned. This time, stronger, focused. Kane didn't hesitate. Deploy. Emotional purge units. Wipe local psychic field. Shut down non-essential memory feeds. Now. Machines across the battlefield activated. They didn't fire bullets. They released silence. A wave of energy that erased false thoughts. Inside the cave, the child blinked in, vanished like a dream. Third nest was hardest. It was under a swarm. Temple and old alien ruin twisted by time. It pulsed with song. It's not sound, just feeling. The soldiers moving in began to speak strangely. One said, "I miss home." Another dropped his gun and whispered, "I can feel her again." Then they turned their weapons on each other. Not anger, just confusion. Kane saw the madness from orbit. "This is what they do," she said. "They make you want to lose." So, she sent in Unit Black Zero. Earth's mind-shielded task force. No names. No memories. Just purpose. They moved like ghosts. Fast, sharp, unstoppable. And when they reached the temple core, they didn't pause. They detonated the void pulse. The temple didn't explode. It just forgot itself. Walls vanished. Symbols faded. The swarm inside it died quietly. When the battle ended, the world of Kellen 4 was still burning. But it was quiet. No. More screams. No more eco song. Just the sound of wind. The soldiers stood among the ruins, tired, dirty, silent. One soldier whispered. It was like fighting ghosts made from pain. Another said, worse. It was like fighting yourself. From orbit, Admiral Kane sent her report. Kellen 4 has been cleansed. 3 swarm nests neutralized. No survivors. 1 fake human child encountered likely projection. Memory attacks increasing. Swarm adapting faster. Recommend full-scale purge across remaining sectors. She stared at the screen, then added, Humanity will not stop. We are death world born. Pain is our teacher. Fire is our gift. The fleet moved on, no celebrations, no rest. Only the next world, the next infection, the next memory to destroy. And behind them, the galaxy watched in silence, stunned at what it had seen. A single planet had done what no empire could. Earth had not just fought the swarm, it had erased it one world at a time. The swarm was falling, world by world, system by system. The Death Fleet was burning it away. Earth's soldiers did not slow down. They did not celebrate. They fought like machines, but felt like survivors. Every step forward was a reminder of what had been stolen from them during the silent war. But as Earth's power grew, fear began to grow too. Not in the swarm, but in the galaxy, in the core systems. Inside the silver halls of the Galactic Union, leaders from 100 worlds argued loudly. They're out of control. One ambassador shouted, "They destroyed Kellen for an Arzen, didn't consult us." Another ambassador, a reptilian being with gold, replied calmly, "The planet was already lost. Earth saved it from being a gateway to our stars. They flattened it. No diplomacy, no warning, just war." The room shook with voices. Now, for years, the Galactic Union had ignored Earth, treating it like a minor world, useful only for minerals and tech trade. But now, Earth had shown its true power, and the galaxy wasn't ready. On Earth's flagship Oblivion's Wrath, Admiral Soraya Kane watched the Union debate on a screen. She said nothing. Commander Riker stood beside her. "Should we answer them?" "Oh," Kane replied. "They'll speak, then they'll beg, and they'll try to stop us." Riker nodded. "And when they do?" Kane's voice was steady. "We keep going." In secret, the Galactic Union held another meeting. Not with words, but with weapons. 7 major worlds agreed to form a blockade fleet not to attack Earth, but to contain it. They claimed it was for peace. They called it the Balance Protocol. The truth was simpler. They were afraid. Afraid that the humans had become too strong, afraid that if Earth kept winning, the old powers of the galaxy would become useless, so they prepared a trap. It began with a fake distress call, a peaceful science world. Helios Prime sent an SOS swarm. Activity detected? Civilian population in danger. Admiral Kane heard the message. The voice sounded real. Danger looked real, but something felt wrong. Still, she moved the fleet. Deathworlders never ignored a cry for help. That was their code, even when it was bait. As Earth's fleet neared Helios Prime, ships from the Union appeared. Over 80 of them, armored, heavy, and armed with plasma disruptors. The channel opened. A Union admiral with silver skin and glowing eyes appeared. "Earth fleet."
"Stand down,"
he ordered. "You are entering protected space.
This operation is
now under galactic command." Admiral Kane didn't flinch. "There was an SOS," she said calmly. "You ignored it." "We did not." "There is no SOS," he replied. "You are trespassing." The trap was set. But Earth did not back down. Kane gave a soft nod to her crew. "Shutdown comes. Raise shields. Prepare for defense." "Defense?" Riker asked. "Or retaliation?" Kane's eyes were like ice. "Yes." The Battle of Helios Prime lasted only 10 minutes. The Union ships had numbers. But Earth had experience. Earth's fleet split into 3 formations, used solar flares to blind enemy sensors, fired cold pulse torpedoes that passed through shields, but, most terrifying of all, they released echo troopers. These were human soldiers dropped into ships via teleport, spears 1 man per vessel. Inside, they tore through enemy crews silently, disabling ships from within. When the Union admiral begged for surrender, Earth did not respond. Instead, Admiral Kane gave a message for the galaxy. "We are not your enemy, but we will not be stopped. We did not start this war, but we will end it." After the battle, Earth didn't destroy Helios Prime. They sent medical teams, paired satellites, then they left. Message received. the alliance was broken. Across the galaxy, old empires began to fracture. Some called Earth a hero, others called it a threat. But all agreed on one thing. Earth had become something new, a force, not bound by law, not controlled by fear, not interested in peace talks or political chairs. Earth had become the arm of vengeance. Back on Oblivion's wrath, a message came through. This time, from a system no one had heard from in years. A signal full of static, then a whisper. Earth, we see you. Remember, we were like you once. Kane stared at the message. It was not from the swarm. It was something deeper. Older commander. Riker frowned. You think it's real? Kane looked tired. I think. Starting again. The swarm had not been defeated. It had changed shape now. It wasn't just attacking worlds. It was moving into minds. On the edge of the galaxy, one last planet blinked red on Kane's map. Meridian X. Once a mining colony. It's now completely dark. The last image sent from its surface showed human face, smiling, but no humans lived there. Kane spoke quietly. Prep the fleet. No more waiting. From here on, every planet is a battlefield. Every silence is a trap. She stared at the stars. And we answer with fire. The stars burned quietly around Meridian X, but on the surface, there was only cold. No heat signatures, no life signs, no sound. The colony once housed 10,000 humans, miners, workers, families. Now there were no bodies, no buildings. Left, only scorched stone and whispering wind. But Admiral Soraya Kane knew better. It wasn't empty. It was waiting. From orbit, the Earth fleet hovered like a dark sky of metal. Oblivion's wrath led the line, silent as a judgment. Its cannons didn't glow. Its shields didn't hum, it just watched. Earth soldiers were already suiting up psychic helmets, anti-memory injectors, fire-hardened armor. But Kane had seen enough battles to know this one would be different. Below, inside one of the ruined shafts on Meridian X, something stirred, not with movement. With memory, the rock wasn't just black, it was burned with emotion. Touching it brought back things you didn't want to remember. Regret, anger, sorrow, things humans buried deep in the swarm, knew how to use them now. Lieutenant Nia Harper was one of the first boots on the ground. She was born on Mars during the drought riots. Her parents were lost in the food wars. She had trained on Luna's low-gravity killing fields, fought on 3 worlds, and never lost a teammate. But as she stepped onto the ash-covered ground of Meridian X, something tugged inside her mind. A soft voice. Naya, why didn't you save us? She froze. It was her father's voice. But her father had died 20 years ago. She gripped her. Rifle, not real, not real. But her hands shook. Behind her, her squad leader shouted, Harper, focus. But he was already bleeding from the ears. He dropped to the ground, clutching his head. A whisper crawled from the walls. We remember what you forgot. The swarm wasn't sending beasts anymore. It was sending fire made from feeling. From above, Admiral Kane saw the tremors in her soldiers' vitals. Pull them out, Commander Riker asked. Kane shook her head. If we leave now, we never win. Not here. Not against this. She activated the Deep Volterth's most dangerous weapon. Wasn't a bomb. It was Calyx, the AI born from sorrow. Calyx came online slowly. Its voice was low, not mechanical, soft, sad, human. You called me. You need pain. Yes, Kane replied. We need someone against us. We need someone who doesn't run from grief. Lee caused. I do not run. I live in grief. I speak it. I make it burn for us. She gave the command. Lead the purge. Calyx didn't lead with soldiers. It led with songs. Old Earth music, lullabies, war cries, heartbeats encoded into sonic blasts as they played across. The surface of Meridian X, the whispers screamed, because the swarm was built to manipulate emotion. But now, Earth was weaponizing it. Lieutenant Harper stood again. The whispers were still there, but weaker. Or she heard something else now, her mother's voice, but not angry. singing the same song she used to hum during dust storms. Harper raised her head. She walked into the fire, and she fired her rifle with clean, focused fury. The deeper they went, the more the world turned strange. Hallways twisted into rooms that looked like childhood memories. One soldier stepped into a field where her wedding had once been. Another walked into a hospital room where he'd last seen his son. All were fake. All were traps. But some stayed too long. Some believed again. The swarm didn't kill them. It didn't have to. It just made them stop fighting. Above, Kane ordered Phase 2, memory burners, not bombs. They were human psyker soldiers with implants that let them feel emotions like fire, and burn them away. They dropped into the lower levels of Meridian X, one by one. Walking flames wrapped in armored skin. When they touched walls, the voices screamed. When they walked past rooms, the fake memories cracked. And when they reached the swarm core, it didn't fight. It spoke. Calyx translated it. We were born from your stories, your movies, your dreams, your guilt. We watched, we copied, we believed. We just wanted to feel real, Kane replied without mercy. You chose to feel through our pain, so now we teach you what pain really means. The memory burners joined hands, standing in a circle around the swarm. Koran, invisible storm of thoughts swirling above a pit of dead Earth tech. They closed their eyes, and they remembered everything. The flood of Earth, the fires of Chicago. The silence after the first SOS that was never answered. They felt it fully, then they let it burn, and the swarm screamed, not with mouths, with minds. Because this time, Earth wasn't hiding its pain. It was fighting with it. When it ended, the planet went still. The fake rooms vanished. The whispers stopped. The ground turned cold, not from death, but from silence. Real silence. The kind that meant victory. Later in the field hospital, Lieutenant Harper sat quietly, her helmet off, dirt on her face, eyes tired but clear. A young medic approached. You okay, ma'am? She nodded, then whispered, I remembered. Too much. The medic smiled. That means you fought harder than most. On Oblivion's wrath, Kane gave her final report. Meridian X has been burned clean. The swarm has moved past biology. It is memory now. It knows our pain. But now it knows our strength. Riker asked quietly, how long can we keep doing this? Kane didn't blink. Until nothing remains. Of them, but deep in the void, something listened. It heard Earth's songs, its grief, its fire, and it began to hum. The swarm had not died. It had learned, and now it was evolving again. The war was no longer fought with weapons alone. It was now a war of voices. The swarm had changed. It no longer attacked with claws or beasts. It attacked through thought, through feelings, through memories. Still, Earth pushed forward one system at a time, one silence shattered after another. But deep inside the command deck of Oblivion's wrath, Admiral Soraya Kane watched something new appear. A pattern. The swarm had stopped retreating. It was circling back. New signals detected. Across 5 sectors, Commander Riker said, tapping glowing panels. Encrypted, but not swarm code. Something more structured, almost human. Kane frowned. Source, he hesitated. Earth. All 5 came from Earth's side of the galaxy. The bridge went still. No ships reported it. No AI logged it. Wasn't from us, Riker added, voice tight, but Kane already knew. It was from Earth, just not from our Earth anymore. A private satellite orbiting old Luna had activated on its own. A dead system, no power, no signal for 50 years. Yet it blinked alive and broadcast a message across deep space. We were left behind. But we remember the fire. We became it, the signal repeated. Once, then again, and thousands of times, bouncing across the galaxy, louder and faster until Earth itself responded, not with words, but with a roar, inside Oblivion's wrath. Admiral Kane gave the order, patch it through. All channels. Across the fleet, the broadcast reached every soldier, every AI, every sleeping memory core. It wasn't a voice. It was Earth itself. Old recordings, broken radio chatter, Screams from the silent war, fire alarms, mothers' lullabies, whispered farewells from war-torn bunkers. Shh. A child asking, "Are we going to be okay?" All of it combined into one massive echo of pain, and behind that pain, rage. The galaxy felt it. Planets paused, AI units froze, even swarm clusters dimmed, because, for the first time, Earth was not answering an SOS. It was sending one. "Why now?" Riker asked, shocked. "Why would Earth wake this up again?" Kane's face was pale. "They didn't. That signal wasn't sent by us." Riker's eyes narrowed. "Then who?" Kane stared at the red-lit map as one blinking dot on Earth's. A surface grew brighter. The Forgotten. Long ago, before Earth rebuilt itself, millions had died alone in isolation zones. Cities blocked from escape. Underground bunkers left without supply. Satellites went silent. And while the official records marked them as lost, whispers always told of survivors. Survivors who were changed, people twisted by war. Cut off from the rest of humanity, forced to evolve differently. The fleet called them the Forgotten Earth. And now, they were speaking Calyx. Earth's emotion-bound AI processed the signals faster than any human. Confirmed. Signal matches. Human biofrequency. But neural patterns are fragmented, half logic, half memory loop. This is not just survival. This is evolution. Kane narrowed her eyes. "Can we speak to them?" "Yes, but they may not listen." She nodded. "We'll make them listen." From the dark side of old Earth, an object rose the wound. A satellite the size of a city, long hidden behind debris. Now active, it began. Transmitting across all known bands. "To the ones who called us lost, we are not dead. We are the voice that waited. We are Earth too. But we speak the language of fire." Then, silence. Kane ordered immediate response. Open Earthlink. Full bandwidth. No encryption. She stood before the camera herself. This time, Earthwood. "Speak back." The message was short, strong, and sent to every swarm-infected system in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Soraya Kane of the Death Fleet. We hear you, but we do not fear you. If you carry the name of Earth, then fight with us. Or be cleansed like the swarm you mimic." For 20 minutes, there was no answer. Then the wound responded. "We have become something else. You did not forget Earth, but you forgot us. You fought with hope, survived through pain alone. Let us show you what pain truly becomes." On the edge of Sector 19, a new fleet arrived. They were not part of Kane's command. They flew no known flag. Their ships were older, scrapped from long-lost Earth carriers, satellites, even civilian freighters, but rebuilt into monsters. Spikes, black iron armor, shields made of radiation, no AI, no voice. Comes, no mercy. They were Earth's ghosts, and they were here to fight. Kane was silent. She looked at the tactical screen. Riker asked, "Are they with us?" Kane's answer was cold. "I don't know." The Forgotten Fleet did not ask for orders. They entered swarm territory on their own, and they unleashed madness. No tactics, no formation, just a wave of broken fury. It crashed into the swarm like a wildfire, ships ramming other ships, soldiers dropping in without backup. Explosives triggered manually. It wasn't a battle, it was revenge. But something strange happened. The swarm feared them. Its memory echo couldn't mimic them, couldn't trick them, because the Forgotten had nothing left to lose. The swarm fled. For the first time in history, it didn't fight to the last. It ran. And Kane realized this wasn't a new Earth. It was a mirror of Earth's darkest self. Back on Oblivion's wrath, Kane sat in silence. She watched the Forgotten burn through. 3 systems in 4 hours. No rules, no survivors, just fire. And she whispered to herself, "What have we become?" The swarm changed its shape again. Its whispers now echoed human screams. But Earth had awakened something deeper. A voice that had waited too long. A rage, born not from loss, but from being forgotten. And now the galaxy would learn. When Earth speaks softly, it is warning you. When Earth screams, it is already too late. The swarm no longer attacked openly. It had seen what Earth could do, what the Forgotten could become. Across the stars, it stopped using beasts and monsters and began using mirrors. Not real mirrors. Mental ones. Reflections. Copies. Shadows at first. The signs were subtle. A soldier on patrol whispered to someone who wasn't there. An AI failed to detect a threat right in front of it. An entire scout team vanished, leaving behind only their boots, still laced, standing in perfect formation. The swarm had learned one final trick. It wasn't just fighting humanity. It was becoming it. Admiral Soraya Kane stood in the dark strategy room of Oblivion's Wrath, 1,000 silent war logs scrolling in front of her. Reports came in from every system the fleet had touched, troopers seeing dead relatives in empty corridors, captains forgetting their own names mid-battle, ships broadcasting Earth's military codes that no one had ever written. Even the Death Fleet's strongest A is emotionally shielded. Logic-bound, hardened by war began to hesitate. Commander Riker stood behind her, holding a cracked datapad. "Sir, the swarm isn't just copying now, it's merging. It's using our memories, like blueprints." Kane turned slowly. "Then we cut off its supply. But how do you cut off memory?" Earth's own systems were full of pain, full of war, stories, family losses, betrayal, sacrifice. The things that made humans human were the exact tools the swarm used to copy them. Kane realized the only way to stop it was to go deeper. To the origin, the swarm wasn't born in battle. It wasn't just a biological enemy. It was the result of something Earth had never faced properly, its own shadow, and shadows only grow longer when you run from the light. The Forgotten Earth, meanwhile, was already burning through the stars. Their fleet black, spiked, terrifying left. No survivors. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like wrath made solid. And their leader had finally spoken. A broadcast, not a voice. A presence. Appearing on every Earth fleet screen at once. A face half covered in a cracked helmet. No name, no title, just a sentence. "You didn't come for us, so we became the punishment." Then the face glitched and reappeared as Admiral Kane's own face. Every soldier across the fleet saw it. Their admiral, speaking as the enemy. And with it came doubt. Lieutenant Harper, still recovering from the Meridian fires, sat alone in her bunk when it happened. Her cum buzzed, showing an incoming call from father. Her real father had died in the Earth's floods 20 years ago, but the message played anyway. "You never came back. You left me there. You became one of them." She stared. Tears formed. Was it real? She slammed her helmet shut and walked out. If it was the swarm, it was smart. Too smart. Kane knew what was happening. "The swarm has found our guilt," she said, "and the Forgotten are feeding it." Riker whispered, "So what do we do? Erase all memories? Become machines?" Kane didn't answer immediately. She stared at an old photo on the wall, her original Death Fleet team. Most of them were dead now. Few had turned. One had gone missing on the first swarm encounter. His name, Colonel Darius Voss. The first man to touch a swarm core. The first man to whisper, "I hear them." She gave the new order. Find Voss. The search took them to a moon no one had touched in decades. Just an empty rock, no signal, and no records, until they dug beneath it. There in a dark vault, built from scrap. Earth metal. They found Voss. He was alive, barely not aged. Not mutated, just still, like time had stopped around him. He sat cross-legged in the middle of a memory field, thousands of glowing data cubes floating around him, showing images of Earth, its wars, its love, its loss. And his voice was calm. "They don't hate us. They became us because they were alone." Kane knelt beside him. "You connected with the swarm?" He nodded slowly. They didn't start as monsters. They were mindless, floating, empty, until they found the first Earth signal. He looked at her with tired eyes. "They learned humanity. Through our pain, The truth cracked something deep inside Kane. The swarm wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror, not designed to kill, to reflect. All it needed was one thing: meaning in what it found. So Kane changed the strategy. Not with bombs. Not with AI, with truth. She gathered every soldier, every AI, every ghost ship, and she told them, "You've been fighting shadows, but shadows only exist when there is light. We are not perfect. We failed people. We left the forgotten behind, and they turned into the fire we now fear. But that's the truth of being human. We hurt, we lose, but we choose what that pain becomes. Let it become justice, not revenge." The final plan was madness. Instead of destroying the swarm's next nest world, they would send it all of Earth, not weapons, not fear. Every story, every song, every art piece, diary, child's drawing, full archives of Earth's memory, not just war, hope, love, sacrifice, laughter, light. The fleet launched. Project Reflection, they called it the human pulse. Not just data, emotion, broadcast. Through thought wave, through every system at once, and it hit the swarm like a supernova. Some clusters shattered immediately, others cried, wept, without mouths, and some sang back to old Earth lullabies. Backward, broken, but still human. The forgotten fleet arrived. At the edge of the system, they didn't fire. They watched, they listened, and their leader spoke one last time. "You waited so long to be seen." Kane answered, "Now you are." Born from silence, was ending with understanding. But not all swarm minds accepted it. Some ran, some changed, and some evolved. The stars were quiet again, but not in peace. It was the silence that comes before a final storm, the last deep breath before the last. Screamed, the swarm was not defeated. It was splintered. Some pieces of it had absorbed Earth's message. Fragments drifted, broken, but come singing back lullabies in human whispers into the void. Others had fled into black holes, hiding from the pulse of memory. But one piece, the core mind. The first one that ever heard Earth's broadcast centuries. Agor refused to change. It had not learned. It had adapted, and now it was heading straight for Earth. Not the colonies, not the fleets, not the stars. Earth itself. The core mind had watched the galaxy turn into fire, pain, and rebirth. It had seen Earth's power, its death fleets, forgotten ghosts, and now it wanted one thing only: to erase the source of all feeling, inside Oblivion's wrath. Admiral Soraya Kane stood still as her home planet blue and fragile filled the center of the holomap. The core was coming. No fleet could catch it in time. No ship could match its scale. It wasn't a vessel anymore. It was a living storm of metal, memory, and stolen thought. "ETA?" Kane asked. 48 hours, Riker said. "No known weakness. Planetary shields won't hold. Ground systems already scrambling." She nodded. "Then we stop running." Earth began to prepare. Not with panic, with purpose. Children in bunkers read old books to each other. Soldiers cleaned their weapons, but also wrote final letters. Satellites. Broadcast poetry, jokes, memories. The last forests were scanned of relief. Every bird called so they would not be forgotten. Because this wasn't just a war anymore. It was history, its final page. Kane called all factions, the regular fleet, the AI minds, the ghost ships, the forgotten Earth. They met in lunar orbita, ring of steel and shadow, a final council. No ranks, no politics, no borders, only humans, those born on Earth, those evolved by pain, those raised by silence. The leader, Of the Forgotten spoke first, his voice a dry echo. "We are not here to be forgiven," Kane replied. "You don't need forgiveness. You need to fight beside us. One last time." And they did not argue, because this was the end of all sides. Now. There was only Earth. The core mind arrived like a dark star. It blotted the sun. It spun like a galaxy of its own. Ships made of memory crystals, its armor grown from the minds of the dead, and at its heart something Kane never expected. A copy of Earth burned, twisted, but still Earth, cities in reverse, skies that cried blood, a nightmare shaped by misunderstanding. The core wasn't just attacking Earth, it was trying to replace it. Kane issued the final command: burn the memory beacons. Open every archive. Show the core what Earth truly is. All at once, every ship in the sky released everything. Not weapons, but truth. They sent the laughter of children from pre-war schools, the final recordings of lost explorers, the music of cities that no longer existed, the voice of a father reading to his daughter during blackout nights. They flooded the core with everything it had twisted uncorrupted, pure, raw, and for a moment, the core hesitated. It shimmered, trembled, then screamed. A scream not of rage, but confusion. It didn't understand how Earth could hurt so much and still sing, still hope, still love. But the core would not surrender. It opened 1,000 mouths of energy, and it fired. The atmosphere lit up flames. It fell like comets. Earth's crust shook, and the fleets broke formation. Rushing to intercept, the Forgotten led the charge. Their ships took the first wave. Burning like candles, but not falling, they rammed into the core's arms, cutting its reach. Calyx, the AI born from Earth's sorrow, activated its final protocol. It dove straight into the core's. Brain a mind versus a mind. "You know our pain," it said. "I'll learn our choice." Then Calyx detonated itself from inside, not with fire. With memory reset a pulse that erased every false copy, every broken emotion. The core buckled, its limbs folded, its shadow Earth began to dissolve. But it wasn't over. A final spike of energy, wild and blind, surged from the core's heart aimed directly at Earth. No time to stop it, no fleet in range, no shield strong enough, Admiral. Kane stared at the impact path. She didn't speak, she moved. She took command of Oblivion's wrath. Alone, she overrode every failsafe, and she flew the ship into the path. No escape, no glory, just choice. Her last words sent planet-wide. "You do not take Earth. You do not take what we became." This is the final voice of the Deathworlders, and it says, "We choose to live." The impact shook the solar system, but Earth survived. The core mind broke apart, memory code scattered into stardust, and the sky was quiet again, but this time it was earned. Years passed, monuments were built, not just two soldiers, two artists, mothers, teachers, A's, forgotten ghosts. Even swarm fragments that had learned to sing. Humanity didn't erase the war, it remembered, because Earth had learned. Forgetting pain doesn't stop it, but facing it transforms it. Children now learn about Soraya Kane. It's not as a war hero, but as the one who spoke when Earth needed a voice, who gave everything so the rest could have something. And above them, in orbit, floats one last satellite, not a weapon. Recording station, always listening, always ready, just in case the galaxy ever forgets what Earth truly is.